For my sermon this morning, I'm going to be talking about the different themes from the 5 days of VBS, and there is a theme verse for each day. And if you flip your bulletin over to the back side in the lower right, you'll see those theme verses. And why don't we read those verses together? So the first one is Psalm 71, verse 5. Let's read this together. O Lord, you alone are my hope. And then the next one is Matthew chapter 14, verse 27. Take courage, I am here. In Proverbs 3:6, he will show you which path to take. And 1 John chapter 3, verse 16. We know what real love is because Jesus gave up his life for us. And 2 Corinthians 4:7. Our great power is from God, not from ourselves. You all read that with just authority. That was wonderful. So I have to chuckle. On 2 different occasions this morning, I heard this. Oh, Pastor Aaron, you're preaching. So either we're going to hear about fishing or plumbing. So I thought that was pretty funny. You all know me way too well. And I just happen to have a plumbing story that I would like to start off my sermon with. I'd like to highlight the different themes from each day during VBS. But in order to get to that, I want to tell you this plumbing story. So you all have heard of the book, All I Ever Need to Know About Life, I learned in kindergarten, right? You've all heard that book? Well, I'm thinking about writing a book entitled in this way, All I Ever Need to Know About Ministry, I Learned in Plumbing. And so this one, the chapter would be tools. So I'll never forget when I got my first set of plumbing tools. It was my very first day on the job, and I got a list of tools that I needed to purchase in order to be an effective plumber. And I think the main reason my boss had me buy these tools is he didn't want me to borrow his tools. So he gave me a list of plumbing tools that I needed to buy in order to build my first plumbing toolkit. And I was very excited to have the assignment of going out and buying tools. I even got a little money to do this. How cool is that, to be told to go out and buy tools? Usually I have to justify with my wife why I have to buy tools. But in this case, I was ordered to go out and buy some tools. And this is the list that he gave me, more or less. One 12-inch pipe wrench, one 14-inch pipe wrench, aluminum, a tubing or pipe cutter, standard size, and then a small tubing or pipe cutter, a pair of pliers, needle nose pliers, a good socket set, especially deep sockets for taking toilets off of the closet flange, one hammer, a set of crescent wrenches, 8-inch and 10-inch, a PVC saw for cutting PVC pipe, a pair of channel locks, preferably a larger size and a smaller size, one putty knife, a basin wrench, a set of screwdrivers, and a Leatherman multi-tool. It's amazing what you can fix with a Leatherman multi-tool, and a vice grip. So I ordered all of these tools from my best friend's dad, who worked at a plumbing wholesaler. And I'll never forget the day when they arrived. They were all very nice and shiny, and I took them out and I put them in my new toolbox that my parents had purchased for me, which I still have to this day. So my boss, Neil, mentored me in the proper way of using these tools and showed me his style for using these tools as well. But over time, I began to use these tools in a way that worked best for me. He also instructed me in proper tool maintenance and loved the adage, take care of your tools and your tools will take care of you. And over time, I've added to my tool collection in a multitude of ways, including some really, really sweet power tools, my favorite of which is a Milwaukee Sawzall. I am so thankful that I was taught from a very early age on how to use tools and how to fix things. And I couldn't have done it without the mentorship of my plumbing boss. and also my father, who taught me a lot about tools in those early years of life. I also learned a lot about tools from my best friend's dad as well. I am so thankful that my early mentors worked to equip me with a good set of tools to fix those problems that creep up in life. And the church is also a place where we work to equip people with the tools of faith. We equip them not with literal tools, but with faith tools. We work together to mentor one another about the proper tools that we need in our faith tool kits. We come to church to engage in the maintenance of our faith tools and to figure out how these tools of faith work best for each and every one of us. We use these faith tools each and every day to engage our projects of faith that we face each and every day. Church is a place where we mentor one another on faith tools, maintain our tools of faith, and we even come here and get new tools as well. How cool is that? Now, we do this work of equipping people with the tools of faith at all ages and stages of life. In these past couple of weeks, we have worked to equip our young people with the tools of faith with our Vacation Bible School program. Our Director of Children's Ministry, Jess, and Children's Ministry Assistant, Steph, as well as a large cadre of volunteers, have done an amazing job. They took a group of kids camping for VBS in the woods at Maplewood State Park. They taught those kids about faith by actually going out into God's creation and seeing God's handiwork up close. How cool is that? Not a better place to learn about faith. They led the preschoolers for a night of VBS a week ago Monday, and I had brought my son Paul there, and they really do have a lot of energy. You could run all of Moorhead, I think, on their energy if we just harness that. So the halls were abuzz this past week with the sounds of kids learning about Jesus and all of the stories of the Bible. Our young people were gaining the tools of faith so that they can go out into the world to serve God and to continue to grow in their faith in God as well. So now I want to talk about those tools that they were gaining during this past week and during the other VBS programs as well. And each of the tools has a really cool character as well that represent each faith tool. And you can see those up on the board there as well. And the theme was Cave Quest, was the name of the VBS program that was used. And so these animals are typical of the types of animals that you might see in a cave. As I talk about each tool, maybe you could think about how this tool might work in your own faith toolkit. So tool number 1 is hope. The very first day they learned all about hope and what that means. And you can see right behind me, it's Sal the salamander. And it's amazing how these kids remember this, because I said, hey, Paul, I said this last night, hey, Paul, what does Sal represent? Can you say it? What does Sal represent? Hope, that's right. See? It's amazing how you pair it with these characters, how they remember it. Sal represents hope. Jesus is the one who gives us hope. And here the theme verse that we read together, "O Lord, you alone are my hope." And they also learned from John chapter 1 about Jesus coming into the world, who is our light, as Jess was talking about. He's the true light, which enlightens everyone. And this is an important tool because we live in a world that is filled with pain and despair. In the midst of the darkness of the world, Jesus came to give us hope and light. So tool number 1 is hope. Tool number 2, I love this one, Martha. Isn't that a cool name? Martha, the moth. Jesus gives us courage, as Jess talked about. We need to remember in this world of fear to have courage. And we have courage because of Jesus. And here they learned about Peter, who was walking out onto the water to meet Jesus when that storm came up. We read about that in Matthew chapter 14, and Peter started to sink into the water, and Jesus pulled him up out of the water. So the third one is the character Radar, and Radar is a bat. And for some reason, I always think of MASH, right? The Radar O'Reilly on MASH. But here, Radar is a bat. And this one, the tool is direction. Jesus gives us direction. And here the theme verse is Proverbs 3:6. He will show you which path to take. On this day, the children learned about the Sermon on the Mount, which goes from Matthew chapter 5 until Matthew chapter 7. They learned all about how to live in the world from this section of the gospel. And this week, take time and read that, if you will, chapters 5 through 7, Matthew chapter 5 and 7. It'll be especially helpful if you're finding you need a little direction in life. There's just a lot of really good material there. My favorite of which is Matthew chapter 6, where we read, "Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring worries of its own. Today's trouble is enough for today." Remember, in this world where we are led in so many different directions, that Jesus gives us the direction that we need. And tool number 4 is Olivia. And this character reminds us that Jesus gives us love. And Olivia is an owl. Olivia the owl. So here the theme verse is 1 John 3:16. We know what real love is because Jesus gave up his life for us. On this day, the kids read the Passion narrative from Luke, where we learn about how Jesus went to the cross for our sake and then was raised to new life. Here is the deal. Jesus loves you, yet sometimes we feel as though we are not worthy. Well, we are worthy. We are worthy of God's love through Jesus Christ, because it is Jesus who makes us worthy by his grace. So let's continue to inundate the darkness of hate with the love that Christ brings into the world. So the last tool, tool number 5, is Ray. And I think Ray is a glowworm, right? And under this one, the theme for the day, the tool is power. Jesus gives us power. And here the theme verse comes from 2 Corinthians. Our great power is from God, not from ourselves. On this day, the kids learned about Jesus ascending into heaven as it's described in the book of Acts. They also read about how the disciples go out into the world to spread the good news of Jesus. They read about how they were empowered by Jesus to do this work. So Jesus empowers us as well to tell others about him. It does not matter if you are old or young, have a degree in theology or a degree at all. Everybody has power to serve because that power has been given to us by Jesus. So as you go out into the world on this day to continue your faith projects, take these tools with you. Take some hope, take some courage, take some direction, take some love, and take the power that Jesus gives us. Think about the other faith tools in your faith toolkit. Tools that have been helpful for you. And tell others about those tools as well. Be a mentor to those around you. Go out into the world with these tools and then come back to get fed again here in worship and to have conversation with one another in church. Perhaps you can come here and gain new tools or maintain your faith tools through worship, through prayer, through communion, and countless other ways as well. And know this, we are in this thing called life together. Let's continue to mentor and care for each other by using and engaging the tools of faith so that all may know who Christ is. Special thanks to Jess and Steph and to all of our amazing VBS volunteers for their hard work over the last few weeks as they have worked to equip our children with the tools of faith. Their work is critical, and we give thanks for their diligence and their great care and great love of kids. Now let's go out into the world and to continue to use our tools of faith. Amen.